Hi, Anand. Welcome to my video series on AI human interaction. Guys, I just want to introduce Anand to all of you. So, we've been knowing each other since I think 7 to 8 years now. We both were in London for an event on startup rocket ship. And back then, he was just starting Zuper. Zuper was a four people team, just the co founders. And, I think you were just leaving Microsoft in Seattle. He's based in Seattle right now, but he toggles between Seattle and Chennai. So he's built Zuper. It's been all these years. I mean, I've done a bunch of things, but he's dedicatedly scaled Zuper to 200 people now. That's what I was asking him. Sikoa backed. I think you guys raised 46. My dinner is still pending. But anyway, welcome Anand. Welcome to the chat.
Thank you, Kalyani. Thank you so much. And I'm super excited to be here talking to you. We had this recent discussion in Bangalore when I visited, and I was very excited about the work that you are doing. And we discussed and decided to have a chat together. And I'm very excited to be here for you and the audience.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll pick from that only. So we were in Mara and we were discussing, how you had ML in Zuper even before the, whole AI revolution happened. But then when LLMs came, you had to quickly understand. And of course, you were a PM at Microsoft. You were a principal product manager, but then you took the CEO role and we lose touch, right, with the ground stuff. So I want you to tell the audience that whole story about how you locked yourself in, and I'll let you do the adoption talking. How did you get through this whole phase?
Yeah. So, I have been in technology for a long, long time. It's close to about 20 years that I'm in technology. And at Microsoft, in the last 7 years, I worked in data and AI. And at that time, AI was very different, not like what it is today. Today, it's all about large language model. 10 years back, we used to talk about democratization of AI. But it was very different. It was about how do you make power users and have them access to AI. And at Microsoft, I was very intrigued by applying intelligence to human in different ways, leveraging data, leveraging insights, machine learning, and AI. The story of Zuper happened while I was still at Microsoft. It was based on my terrible experience while getting my refrigerator repaired. I was trying to get my refrigerator serviced, and it was a terrible experience. And I was wondering, what does it take for a large organization to offer a better experience to its customers? And that was how Zuper was born. So from the beginning, our goal was to transform businesses. And while we were building the first version of the product, we leveraged AI in whatever ways we could do. At that point in time, we had to build a machine learning model with historical data, whatever data we had, because access to data was very hard. Once you have the data, you had to get the data to a quality that can be used in the model. So there were lots of challenges. But based on my understanding of the space, we were able to get a model put together quickly and use that in certain ways in the product to help dispatchers in field service operations. But as of now, in the last few years, as we all know, things have transformed dramatically. And what we have done right now is to make sure that we embed AI into the platform and augment the personas that we serve to improve their productivity.
What does that mean? Explain that a bit.
Yeah. So let me explain to you what field service is. Field service is the process of optimizing and managing resource on the field that perform installation, maintenance, and repair work. These are people that are running the background of the economy. They are keeping our worlds running. They are installing, managing, repairing equipments, both industrial and for consumers. And they're making sure that our quality of life is improving every day. Now, to do that, this is a complex set of operations. It involves scheduling, dispatching, managing work order, performing work in complex environments. And all of these requires a lot of different workflows. And our goal is to make sure that we use AI in every possible ways to help the people who are doing the work. For example, the technicians on the field, they do a lot of job site documentation. They collect hundreds of pictures, they do lots of notes, and they are collecting all this information not just to present the work that they are doing, but also for compliance and regulatory requirements. One of our goals is to make sure that technicians can go hands-free, meaning that when they are juggling between equipments, paper, mobile, and many other devices that they're working, our goal is to make sure that technology can take a backseat. And our focus is on intelligence, voice, and vision for the technicians. And this is one area where we are helping them improve productivity exponentially because now with the AI capabilities that we have, technicians do not have to type anything. They can just speak. We use our AI models to summarize what they are speaking. They can do walkthroughs and inspections without clicking a lot of pictures. They can just use voice and vision to perform some of those actions. And this is one area which is where it is helping significantly in improving the productivity of the technicians. And all these AI features that we are building in or bringing in are based on our real world learnings from our customers.
I'm going to come back to how did you realize that LLMs have changed things? And so, you had to quickly get yourself to adopt and code and bring your entire company to adopt AI. I want to know more about that experience. Like the emotional journey, the journey of managing the team, the resistance, all the difficult decisions that you had to make. Like I'm very keen on understanding how that, because these reports are like very easy to put out, right? Is that say this failed and that got adopted, but a CEO is kind of juggling between people who've been loyal, people who've done so much work, people having to be retrained, people having to be kind of, the internal resistance of will AI take away my job. So I want to like dig deeper into that experience and how you handled it all in the last few years.
Absolutely. This is very close to my heart. So it all started about 2 years back. And when I realized that every organization that started before 2022 have to go through a significant transformation. And I'm picking this year because most of the companies that started after that, they were kind of an AI first company. But a company like us that were kind of formed in 2018, we are considered as a legacy SaaS in this world. Companies that are 5, 6 years old are considered legacy at this point in time, and the newer companies are kind of AI first. So it was a challenge for us to become an AI first company. And that realization itself is the first step in the process that you are a legacy company right now, even though you are just about 5 years old, and you need to transform or we need to transform. So that was the first step in the process. And usually that happens tops down. Like in our case, it is the CEO who is thinking, going through these emotions of how do you transform this. The second step was understanding the emotions of the team. The team is inundated with so much of AI information, AI news, the perspective that every board wants the company to go through a strategy of AI transformation. So in our case, the first thing was understanding that paradigm. And second was understanding the resistance of change. And based on my experience, what I have seen is that the resistance of change is not the resistance of AI itself, but the resistance to AI being an abstract concept and imposed on the team. So the first thing was to figure out what are the real world use cases that we are going to target. And it was not about, AI as a product launch. It was about changing the mindset of the company itself. And it was about embedding that DNA into the organization. So the first thing that I did as the CEO of the company was to identify few problem areas that was very close to what we were building and try things myself. So I took about a couple of weeks and I said that I'm going to take a step back from my day-to-day work and I'm going to take a problem, think through the end-to-end journey of that problem from every functions of the organization, all the way from conceptualizing that problem, talking to customers, building a prototype, positioning it to the customer and selling it to the customer so that I get a chance to go through every aspect of product development and releasing that. So in that 2 weeks, I end up building about 5 different prototypes that could be sold to customer. And during that time,
On your own, did you build
on
all the
my
five?
own, on my own. So it was just, it was very exciting because, it's been about 15 years since I did product development. But with AI and thinking about AI and having that curious mind is the first and the most important thing. A lot of people miss that, you are learning something, you need to have the curiosity to adapt it yourself. So for me, it was about adapting to what I was reading and figuring out what tools can I use and produce something that is tangible that the team can understand and relate. So in that 2 weeks, I built about 5 different tools or 5 different applications that could be used by our customers and we could actually sell it to our customers. And when I was able to do that, it helped me in 2 different things. One, it helped me in understanding how to leverage the AI tools in real world scenarios. And second, it was about solving a real problem that our customers were facing. And once I was able to do that and present to the team could understand that this is how you can actually leverage AI to solve problems. And it was not abstract anymore. So, to break that resistance, the first thing was to showcase real world problems and not just throw AI into the problem. And once that happened, we had to communicate a lot to the company. The second step was to break that barrier through experimentation. We had to identify a few champions in the company. And once we identified those champions, we were able to leverage those champions to build such tools across different aspects of the organization, all the way from engineering to customer experience to marketing and sales. And let's take an example. In engineering, our goal was not to, ask people to build AI developers, but to take a simple problem like we were migrating some code from a specific tool, a legacy tool, to a modern tool. We decided to use AI as a helper to help with that migration. It was about identifying a small problem, solving that problem, showcasing the value and the productivity gains, and then move on. Likewise, we identified such small problems across the organization. We had those champions, and those champions started solving these problems. And our goal was to make sure that AI becomes a coworker or just like another, someone in the company that people can lean on. And once that happened, where AI became a daily coworker, helper, someone that can complement our workforce, that was one of the most important wins. And after that, AI became an organization strategy, and then it became an AI first company. Now we are a true AI first company. Every decisions, actions that we do, it's an AI first thought process. And we have also used AI as a competitive advantage by releasing lots of features where AI is embedded into end-to-end workflows.
So SaaS is no longer your kind of label now. We've all the SaaS companies will have to transition to a AI native company, but I'm saying you've been the
Absolutely.
first one to adapt very quickly and get there. The only part that I find very fascinating, which is what I wanted to talk to you about, is so the field agents, they in the previous world, in the previous era, needed training on how to use these apps, what to do. You do need to take them through a fixed workflow and stuff. But like as I'm studying AI human interaction, I'm noticing invisible design that's just there. Like you do what you do and the AI adapts to it, which is the beautiful part about AI, that I don't need to train myself. The AI needs to adapt to what I am doing, right? Which is what we're doing with English prompting. Like we just type language and it adapts and it does everything in the background. So the cost to training, the cost to adaptation should ideally reduce, and the resistance that came with learning these complicated apps should kind of also go down. Is this your inference as well? Have you noticed the same pattern on?
Absolutely. And I'll give you an example. We recently launched one of our most exciting products called Zuper Glass. It's a smart glass, it's a wearable technology. And there was, about 2 months back, we were thinking about this problem. And this was also a customer first problem, meaning that we spend a lot of time with customers. And I was doing a ride along with a customer. I was on the roof with a customer, and I was just learning about how they operate their business. And one of the things that I noticed was when the technicians, or in this case, a field estimator, was on the roof to perform an estimation, they were really struggling with all the equipments, all the mobile and everything else. It was a safety concern. It was a productivity concern. It was a concern about being erroneous in the way they work. And I was just thinking from that time that how do you ensure technology takes a back seat and you really focus on human craftsmanship and intelligence. And I came back from that trip, and since then I was just thinking about what could be that form factor. And we experimented with many form factors, finally chose smart glass because it is the right combination of voice, vision, and intelligence. And within 6 weeks, we were able to launch our smart glasses. And when we launched the smart glasses and we shipped it to our customers, it was the most natural adaptation from a customer's perspective. Unbox the glasses, they put on the glasses, they were on the roof, and they were able to use our AI technology that we had on the smart glass to perform their inspections without any training. And this is where, just like you said, AI adapts to the day in the life of the customer or the user rather than the other way around. And you do not have to leverage technology with constraints. And this is where it was a beautiful way in which the customers were able to use that. They were able to see the value. And one of our customers, they mentioned that when they were performing an inspection on a roof, they had a slip and they fell down. And because of the fact that they were hands free and not having a mobile or a paper or a pen, they were able to hang on to the roof and it saved their life. And they went on to record to say that Zuper smart glasses saved their life. And this is exactly the kind of moments that we were expecting, that it is going to bring in safety, bring in intelligence, a total hands free intelligence to our customer community.
Got it. But yeah, so the part that's most fascinating about the way you've executed is first SaaS to AI native. How do you go from a software company to a hardware company? What? And 6 weeks is a really short time, right? It takes me sometimes like 6 weeks to just finish piece of research, forget executing any of it. So like, what went into this? How did you go hardware?
Yeah, it was just having that curious mind and the persistence to bring in innovation to our customers. So the most important thing was finding the right hardware partner. And once we were able to find the right hardware partner, we had to integrate with our platform into the hardware. And we were already an AI first company by that time. We already had the AI models, the voice and vision model that were part of our mobile. So we already were about 60 to 70% out there. At that point in time, it was about finding the right form factor. And it was also made possible by the evolution of the wearable tech. Like, if you think about it, smart glasses came into being about 10 years back. But that time, the wearable technology itself, it was in its infancy. And it was in its infancy from two aspects. It was the form factor. It was not really adaptable by consumers or by enterprise. And secondly, the technology itself was very clunky. But over the years, and especially in the last 6 months, wearable technologies have made leaps and bounds progress. And the next few years, wearable technologies, especially smart glasses, are going to be mainstream. So we had to get ahead. And this is what is built into our DNA, especially our leadership and my DNA, that we want to stay ahead of the game. Just like we were ahead of the game in the AI adoption journey, and transforming into an AI first company, we wanted to figure out how do we continue to bring in innovations. And I'll tell you that the smart glasses were an iPhone moment for our customers because we were able to bring in innovations and disruption to a community that is underserved. And we are bringing in hands free intelligence, a safer environment to every crew on every field service operation. And that's extremely exciting.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Anand, from my personal experience, when I call urban clap service providers here, like plumbing, and they're really irritated that they have to take selfies and like everything, right? Those little steps that, of course, the company needs to do for compliance is irritability for these guys because they're like, we are unable to focus on our work. There's an appointment coming. There's so much happening that if a plumber needs to put aside his phone even for 10 minutes, he needs to think, should I be able to do it? When this is a person who does not need an app technically, his work is plumbing, his work is not app management, right? So I think that part I mean, it's you're early. I'm clearly saying this because I can see Zomato drivers, I can see I can see so many use cases that this, like, you've heard of incidences where they're delivering food and they meet with an accident because they're also busy doing 50 other things on their app, right? It's pinging constantly for their attention. And in this particular case, I think the whole gig work, like the gig economy, could leverage this in my perspective. And so you've kind of hats off to you for you being able to do this so well. Okay, can I brainstorm with you for like 10 minutes about why can't we use this glass as an AI companion? Like what would stop humans from adapting this as their plus one. No, I figured that. I'm saying what is going to be the human resistance. So you were solving a problem that was clearly needed and they were happy to adopt it. But with Meta Glass, and I didn't want to kind of name it, but yeah, with these glasses coming for companionship, for emotional support, I want to understand where the resistance is. And I'll tell you why this question's coming. So, you know, of that $129 friend device, right, that people can hang in their neck, and there was a whole, vigilante campaign on New York subways about like, get a real friend, right? Like, that's the kind of point of view I'm coming from, that you did it very well because it was like a game of Tetris. It was very needed and the slot fit in at that time. But the AI companion part is a push. We are trying to enter a human emotional life via AI. I'm asking you to brainstorm with me. Forget the enterprise part. Emotionally, because I study also the AI companionship part, what do you see as a resistance there? Do you think there will be a resistance there?
I think it will depend. The biggest concern from my perspective is privacy, because it is not about that AI being a companion to the person who is using it, but they're also using it in a social setting where there is a presence of another person, and there is not always, an opt-in from that person to be part of this AI companion, which is like a third person in this setting, right? Just imagine you and I are talking, and now this AI companion is recording everything that we are talking, and I'm not aware of it. Now, this becomes a privacy concern. I think from my perspective, this is going to be one major concern about having AI as a companion to someone, because when it's being used in a social gathering, it will have these nuance, this constraint. Now let's set aside the privacy concern. If privacy is not a concern, then I think that it is only going to elevate someone's life if it's used in the right way. Now, we also know how AI companions, if not used in the right way without guardrails, it can lead to catastrophe. We have read about articles about how a teenager was pushed to end their life because they
Yeah.
made AI as their companion and there were no guardrails. I think those guardrails are extremely critical, because in this world, there is also a lot of loneliness. People are being lonely. And when they are using a machine as their companion, there is going to be a lot of diligence and mindfulness, both in terms of the human who is interacting with it and the builder of this AI, to make sure that it has all the guardrails so that it fully is used as a companion rather than it is used as, just as a robot who has a mind of its own and can push the human to do things that are not necessary.
Yeah, fair. And there was this one interview, I think the first one with Sashank from Novium AI. And I asked him an interesting use case of AI in a physical world. And he told me about this microphonic kind of stuff that doctors use in US when they're doing the ICU rounds. And that was the exact time you were launching Zuper Glass. So of course we were in stealth, so I didn't mention it in the recording. But I was also wondering why not directly go the class, because it also then solves the vision problem. Right now with those, the recordings, it's just voice right now. You can't do so many things that a doctor would be able to do if vision was empowered with it. So I think you're already like a kind of 5 steps on that, because you could have also gone voice first, then vision. And what got you to take that leap of faith where you go full multimodal and throughout 360?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why we chose this vision was the fact that we are the first use case that we have released this is on the exteriors of the home. And there are not much of a privacy concern with exteriors of the home because there are not many people around when someone is on top of the roof. But if we had to build this for interiors of the home, and in this case of healthcare, like a doctor is using this, there are some privacy concerns because it will have people's pictures and their faces on it. There needs to be evolution of technology in this on how to abstract humans from this so that they can only record what is needed without having the privacy concerns. So we are constantly thinking about how to have the right guardrails in place so that we can remove some of these constraints and objections from leveraging the wearable and AI in the right mechanism.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the recording part. Like, even if the Firefly or like this otter enters the chat, right? I become very guarded. Like, I know, okay, I have to measure everything. You don't know what's going to be stored in that database about me, right? So, and there is almost in India no consent taken. So they'll just join the meeting and a firefly would start. And I'm like, can you at least check with me if you're like comfortable or not? But I think this is one of the reason India has a better adoption of AI compared to the rest of the world. I've seen the latest statistics also. It's primarily because we don't have that awareness or the depth that is needed on the privacy part. We're born in homes which is joint families. 50 people keep coming whenever they want to. Your friends will ring the bell and just barge in. That's not the culture in Scandinavian countries or US and all. Very individualistic and they protect their environment a lot, right? We have boundary problems here in India. Let me just be honest about it. Which is why we've been like, huh, one more person, kind of entering the space. We've been so used to everyone entering the space. I feel this is very nuanced, but this is why the adoption is much better. And I feel someone should kind of do a study on this because the adoption is not just because it's making you feel smarter. That is there. I did write about it that in India, people do feel like their managers will like them more if they write a well crafted email. But it's beyond that also. It's we don't have inhibitions that AI is entering our life and the way it's entering it and the bonds we're forming with it. Right. So I just thought that one part.
Very interesting perspective. I didn't think about that, but like, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and so which is why since you're in the right time and the right place, and like you said, you're not entering the home, you're like kind of circumventing it. The adoption is great from, of course, the person who's using it because he goes hands free, but even the clients don't mind it because they feel it's much safer for the person who's coming, and at the same time, this privacy is not evaded. So I think your product is at that intersection of right time, right adoption, and no one has a problem with it kind of situation. Yeah, okay. So now one last question on your entire Zuper journey. Toggling between Chennai and Seattle and handling two different kind of geographical, cultural kind of paradigms. If when the AI did come, like the whole LLM revolution, probably Seattle understood it better, probably Chennai took time. I don't know. I'm assuming it. So I just want to understand, like, were there did you have to wear different hats every time you're taking a flight?
Yeah, I think initially it was like that. It was like that because I was learning a lot from being part of the US ecosystem because it was a little bit ahead. I was part of this ecosystem where there were AI companies sprouting every day almost and getting to the billions of dollars of valuations that were happening. And it was because of the fact that they were addressing a real problem and they were going really fast after that problem. And I think making sure that the team in Chennai understood the era that we are living right now and the opportunity in front of us, it was an effort. So when I was in the US, I was part of this ecosystem and the ecosystem continues to thrive. And all these companies are coming in because they are seeing real problems. They are knowing how to go after that problem with an AI first mindset. And India was little bit, I feel that it is still a little bit behind from that perspective on identifying real problems and going and solving that with an AI first mindset. So that was the biggest transition from my perspective that I was living in this world where people were just going so hard, so aggressive and getting to those milestones. And then back home, there were still things what I perceived to be extremely slow. So I had to make sure, like I said earlier, to be the one to accelerate the team and making sure that the team is understanding the opportunity that we have. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity for everyone that's in technology. And if you are not adopting to this, you are going to be left way behind. And every day matters and every day counts. So that sense of urgency, the accountability, and the ability to experiment without fear of failure was very, very important to cultivate into the culture of the company. Because on one half of the company in the US, people were like rushing, they were pushing through, they were wanting to try things. And then on the other side, we had to make sure that people understand that urgency. But then it was just a matter of time that both the worlds kind of matched. And we have now a team that understands the urgency. They understand this once in a lifetime opportunity that we all have and the ability to execute to the best of our abilities. And the best of our abilities is being pushed every day. The boundaries are getting pushed every day.
Yeah, fair. Don't give me a PR answer for my next question. Give me the real answer. What is the real moat for a field service company like yours? What have you developed as a real moat? No PR answer.
Okay, let me just pause and think a little bit. What I would say is that the moat is the depth of what we are building. It is not about the data, it is not about the language models, because all those things are available right now and it's evolving at a pace that we cannot keep up with, even if we want to get there. So, what we have done and what we are doing is understanding the nuances of the businesses. So the depth is extremely critical. And at this point in time, it is also not about solving the most glamorous problems. It is about solving the most mundane problems that are out there and to leverage AI in a way that can solve these problems. And that is where I think that is the number one thing from our perspective. Understanding the nuances of the businesses, understanding the context, understanding the workflows, and leveraging AI in solving these repeated boring problems. Number two is building the trust with these businesses. We now have all these technicians on the field, the back office users who are using Zuper AI, and they are seeing this helping them in their day to day operations. Now they are trusting it more because just like I mentioned about the resistance of change at Zuper, every company that we are going after, those companies have these resistance of changes. And our goal is to show small wins one at a time and to continue to build that trust. So, building that context, understanding the workflows, gaining the trust, and then leveraging technology in the way that we have not done before to address these problems, these are the moats that I would consider because it would take companies a lot of time. And especially when someone is building horizontal solutions, horizontal solutions cannot compete in this world with vertical solutions because of exactly the reasons that I mentioned. And I would consider these as moat, and it will take companies a long time to get to where we are at this point in time.
Yeah, I agree. And there is one more skill set of yours. Of course, you won't talk about it, but like I'll tell you, is you're extremely observational. That's a real skill set. Like you observe that hands free would be better. You observe that vision is, here this vision could help. You also had the know how to know, okay, we're not entering the privacy space. So this would be, so this is a real observational and emotional intelligence skill set like that you have. And I also know a little bit of, so though also comes from that space. I think that's the part also that's where you've been able to create so many things so quickly. I'm just
I'm
adding
still a
my
product manager in my heart.
yeah, exactly.
I'm
I
the
was just gonna
CEO,
say,
but I'm the product manager. I love building products for the customers. So I think that curiosity, that observations comes from that, that skills that I had for many years and continue to be super excited about being the product manager of the company.
yeah, I think once we are product managers, we can take many titles, but we'll at heart that mental model always works customer first, customer pain point, customer problem.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Okay, last question generically 2026, where do you think AI goes now? Do we just go now the adoption happens like cloud got discovered and people were migrating to cloud, or do you think this race will still accelerate throughout 2026?
I think the race will continue, but I think the focus has to be on adoption because just like you started saying that a lot of companies are wanting to adopt, but they seem to not having the success as some of the other companies. And I think 2026 and beyond, it is going to be about showing real adoption in real use cases. And there are many use cases out there that requires transformation. Healthcare is one of them. You discussed about like how doctors are using an AI companion. Even in our case, like in field service, we have now seen the promise and the potential, but that adoption has to come. We need to see how we are improving the lives of technicians in the number of hours that we are saving them from doing this technical work. They want to be repairing, maintaining equipments, and they want to do that. They do not want to be getting drained with technology. And we want to see that real value and productivity gains. Likewise for back office and so forth. I think AI will continue to be an augmentation engine or an augmentation toolkit rather than AI being full on autonomous. And everywhere where AI is considered autonomous is going to take a long time to get there. And I think that is where some of the businesses continue to face challenges or fail because they are just trying to go into what is considered as agentic AI and wanting to replace humans with AI. And every time that scenario happens, I think there is a high likelihood of failure because, you're pushing AI into doing things that it is not ready for. So I think the next couple of years, it is going to be identifying those real use cases where AI can really help improve productivity, help being the accelerator, and continue to push those areas.
Yeah, you're right. Which is why self-driving cars are taking so long because 99% is solved, but the last 1% that can be catastrophic is very difficult. Same with agentic AI. You can do 90% work very easily with LLMs, but the last 10 of evals and guardrails is like the challenging part. So I agree. Okay, to end this, like I'll just tell you something that's very special about why I thought you've done a great job at this. I've met a lot of CEOs, probably your age or a little bit, 5 years, 10 years here. But when I ask them about AI adoption and they're not startup CEOs, they're of course at big corporates, they'll be like, we're too old for this. The next generation can figure itself out. The mindset is that they're not obviously saying it that way. They're saying the brain's neural pathway to kind of adapt and see that wave coming. If you're like at that mindset, you're way likely to dismiss it, is what I'm saying. Because in between the good mobile app wave and the AI wave came crypto and Web3 and all of these, right? Where hype was there, but it didn't live up to it. And obviously, so people started dismissing technological evolutions or said that we will adapt to it when the real time comes. And so I think that's where the big gap is, where corporates are not able to. I mean, I think in this particular case, though, the elephants have been sharper, like Microsoft, Google, everyone's adopted pretty quickly, which has not also been the case always. But I'm saying what's so special here in this case is you've raised funds, you've scaled your company, you're doing really well, yet you were like, okay, a wave is coming and I need to either ride with it or drown in it. So you're like, I'll ride with it. And that's why I wanted you on the show. And thank you so much for coming. Any last thoughts?
No, I really enjoyed this discussion. I'm a huge believer of growth mindset, and this is what I practice, and this is exactly what you mentioned. As always, love having this conversation with you, Kalyani. You're doing an amazing work with all your research, and I love to be on this show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anand.